took us months of preparations, but finally we are here in Brussels launching our first edition of ZEUS. In this edition we will cover the Czech presidency and their agenda. It's a very challenging time for them at the moment. And next to this we have a look at Grant Lawrence, the expert on the legislation of labeling eggs. And lastly we go to Maastricht and give you the tips and advice of how you can develop your own European career.
Brussels is a magnet for government, business and lobbyists. The European capital has attracted more than 2,000 multinationals and more than 15,000 lobbyists. Tens of thousands of people work at the European institutions. It all means that there are plenty of opportunities for a career. So, how do you get from your student position to a top position? Most students have no idea. What would you like to do after finishing European studies?
I don't really know yet.
I don't know whether I want to have a European career.
So far I don't really have a clue where to go.
But some students do have a master plan.
I'm interested rather in politics and economics, so I hope I can find a position to combine it.
Probably going into political education or doing a think tank.
I don't think I want to work in Brussels, as seems to be one of the opportunities always associated with a European career. But instead I think there are many other ways to have a European career within one of the member states eventually, or also in private businesses traveling to other member states and having those intercultural contacts.
One thing that is certain is that your time as a student provides an opportunity to find out what is possible.
As long as I'm at the university and studying, I should also get the student life, meet some friends, make friendships and learn and broaden your horizon more or less. And then let's see what happens, because I'll have to work enough for the rest of my life. So.
The master is the most important to really decide on which direction you want to go. So 2 years you can ask me again, then I will give you a definite answer, okay?
Once out of university, students think that the world is in their hands. But is it really?
They are not so well regarded at times, and that is a shock when you just finish your degree and you are so proud.
But do not despair. Here's some advice from the ones who mastered the challenges on the European job market.
Even a rotten experience will teach you a lot.
Be humble, know that you have to learn, prove them wrong.
Specialize yourself as soon as possible. Try to pick a specialization that you're really interested in.
You learn a lot, even if you make a wrong career choice. Well, wrong in the sense of that you don't like at one point and you want to pursue a different path. It's very important for me, at least, and I'm not sure whether I made any wrong choices in that respect, but that you went through the process of learning, of seeing, of touching upon the subject and then knowing for yourself whether this is something for you or not.
Surprise them, ask the naive questions that are sometimes really the fresh look that some organizations need.
The first and most important thing is be the best. Be the best means you know languages, you have a lot of flexibility.
So get informed and don't be afraid to step into the elevator. It's an adventure and you can never be certain what is on the next floor.
University of Maastricht organizes a series of lectures called the Jean Monnet Lectures. Last time Grant Lawrence visited Maastricht and he talks about what it takes labeling eggs in Europe.
What is the correct way of labeling an egg in Europe? What has to be on the stamp, and how big does the writing of the stamp have to be? The man who set these rules recently came to Maastricht to talk about life in the European Commission. Grant Lawrence has just retired after 33 years in the European Commission, 15 of which as a director of the DG Environment.
During those 15 years I dealt with most environmental subjects, but in my final assignment my main tasks were water pollution and chemicals.
The trained lawyer spent much of his time in the Commission steering directives or regulations through the European Parliament and the Council of Ministers. He best remembers the directive on water pollution.
And that was my baby almost. I wrote the first draft of it, and then with my team we worked together and we took it through.
Over the last years, Lawrence has seen new challenges arise inside the Commission. As fields like energy and environment became more and more mingled, the DG Environment had to share power with other directorates. Lawrence has an idea how to prevent a struggle for competence between them.
Rather than the traditional way where one Directorate General prepares all the work and then asks the others to comment, the work is prepared jointly by a small task force or committee of all the Directorates General, and they each contribute throughout the whole process.
The task force, he hopes, will make the work of the different DGs more coherent and give a more unitary picture of the Commission. Lorenz voiced the plan during a Jean Monnet lecture organized by the University of Maastricht. The idea behind this lecture was to give students a view upon the workings of the EU from an inside perspective.
There's something different between reading about the development of the institutions and hearing it from people who've been directly involved with the institutions.
And so we have gone for people who are just retired, who have worked at the institutions but who are just retired, because we think they can speak more openly.
After an insight into the European Commission, 2 more Jean Monnet lectures are to follow.
The next time we have the Secretary General of the European Parliament on the 4th of March, and then we will have, most probably, we don't know yet, Michiel van Hulten, who is a former MEP and who will look back on the 3 institutions.
Of course, the Jean Monnet lectures are very interesting for students of European studies, yet they are open for everybody at Maastricht University.
The Czech Republic organizes over 3,000 meetings during the 6-month presidency. This is an enormous challenge. And Maastricht plays a special role in this. Let's have a look how to prepare for a presidency and what the challenges the Czechs have to meet.
The main decision-making body of the European Union is the Council. Every 6 months, the presidency of the European Council changes, rotating between the 27 member states. Taking up a presidency means organizing more than 3,000 meetings during 6 months. The Czech Republic took up the EU presidency at the beginning of this year. Did you know they were trained in Maastricht? The European Institute of Public Administration gave the Czechs the tools to get ready for this major challenge.
We prepared them for the meeting itself. What do they have to take into account? What's about, I would say, the skills which are necessary for managing this type of meeting. But we do not intervene, for example, for the preparation or the elaboration of the agenda itself.
Holding a successful presidency comes down to preparing yourself very well, mastering many different skills and expecting the unexpected.
You have to be prepared, you have to know the procedure, you have to have diplomatic skills, you have to be capable to speak in different languages.
The Czechs joined the EU in 2004, which means they are not as experienced as the older member states. Like France, we run a very strong presidency. What does it mean to be a newcomer?
It's something new. The civil service is not experienced in handling the presidency and has to learn a lot. There's not much experience to build on from the past.
For the newcomers, if we call them like that, it's very challenging because they don't systematically have all the necessary structure to coordinate and to manage the presidency, which is very time-consuming, and especially because you need a lot of human resources and competencies in your administration.
But the Czechs are not standing alone. They had some help from more experienced EU members.
The Czech civil service has been preparing for this for years. It was using the experience of our European partners, primarily France and Sweden, which held and will hold the presidency before us and after us.
One important aspect of holding a presidency is one need to take into account both the outcome of the negotiations as well as the relationship between the member states.
You have some member states, culturally speaking, who are more focused on the outcome itself, and they are here to find a result. End of the story, even if they have to be very straight to the point, very direct, sometimes very rude, it's not an issue. And I didn't mention any nationality. And you have some other member states who are probably more focused on the relationship, they are more talkative, and they can give the impression that they have to speak for 20 minutes without mentioning anything so much important.
The Czech Republic has a very intense start of its presidency. They not only have to deal with a gas dispute between Russia and the Ukraine, the financial crisis and the tumult in Gaza, but they also stirred up the general mood in the EU by unveiling their controversial artwork and tropa.
The Czech Republic has fine-tuned its priorities into the so-called 3 E's. That is to say, economy, within that priority will primarily deal with the impact of the financial crisis and the ways for Europe to mitigate it. Then energy, that is the energy security, which has come into even more prominence after the recent gas crisis to do with the dispute between Russia and Ukraine. And finally, the third E is Europe and the world, that is to say, external relations and enlargement.
2 out of 3 of those priorities are linked to current international crises.
So, as prepared as you are, always expect the unexpected during your presidency. And with regard to the style of holding a presidency, every EU member state has developed its own style. So what about the style of the Czechs?
This public perception of the Czech Republic from abroad is sometimes misleading. Although it's true that the Czechs are realists, are pragmatists. They want to see results and solutions rather than a lot of talk.
Every presidency is unique. The Czechs seem to be well prepared, but let's see what the next 6 months will bring.
That's it for this edition. Thanks for watching and see you next time.